Let's take a close look at the elongation of a material when forces are applied. We consider a beam with length L0 that is anchored on one end. If a force is applied to the free end of the beam will be stretched. The additional length, labeled as delta L, is called the elongation. Based on the initial length L0 and elongation delta L, the strain epsilon is defined as the ratio of both, so delta L divided by L. We'll now take a closer look at the material behavior if we apply an increasing force F. In order to do so, we plot the strain epsilon on the horizontal axis and the force on the vertical axis. Note that the normal stresses in the beam are proportional to the force. We can therefore switch the vertical axis to the stress such that we end up with the so-called stress-strain plot. You probably have seen such plots before. Now what happens if we apply a force to the beam? The force stretches the material, thereby causing a strain, and at the same time the force causes a material stress. Initially, the stress and strain increase with a linear relation, so a straight line in the graph. The region of this linear relation in the plot is called the region of elastic deformation. Based on this line, the modulus of elasticity of the material can be calculated. This modulus, E, is defined as the slope of the linear section, so delta sigma divided by delta epsilon. The modulus of elasticity is also referred to as the E modulus or the Young's modulus. The relation delta sigma divided by delta epsilon is called Hooke's law. This E modulus forms the stiffness of the material, as it tells us how much stress is required to stretch a material a certain amount. In this elastic region, only elastic deformation takes place. This means that for a given force, the beam is stretched, and if the force is removed, the length of the beam is reduced back to its original value. So we again end up at the origin of the plot and no permanent deformation has taken place. However, if the force is increased further, the linear relation comes to an end and flattens. We've now passed the so-called proportional limit, which marks the end of the linear relation, and the stress maximum is called the yield stress, sigma yield. Note that the exact location for this transition in the graph might not always be clear. For hard to read graphs, the yield point is typically determined by taking a strain offset of 0.2% and taking a line parallel to the elastic region. The cross-section of this new line with the material data is defined as the yield strength at 0.2% offset. The curve now typically drops somewhat and we enter the region of plastic deformation or strain hardening. In this region, no significant additional force is required to obtain a significant strain difference. Also, the change in length in this region is permanent. This means that when the force is released, the beam will not go back to its original length. Instead, it will follow a line parallel to that of the elastic region to go back to the horizontal axis. We now have permanently elongated the beam. In the plastic region, the internal atomic structure of the material will change. This results in a so-called hardened material, which can resist more stresses. This hardening makes the curve go up in case ever more force is applied. We reach the ultimate tensile strength. This marks the maximum stress the material is able to resist and is also called the breaking stress point. Past this ultimate tensile strength, the material will extend and start necking. When necking occurs, the beam starts getting recognizably thinner. This happens at the weakest point of the beam and cannot be reversed. When the beam has started necking, the material will break at its fracture point. In summary, due to the elasticity of a material, it is possible to stretch a material and return it to its original position. By stretching it too much, the material will become plastically deformed. Strain hardening makes the curve go up, and even higher forces bring the stress up to the ultimate tensile strength, after which necking starts and the item fractures. The curve that has been discussed here is typical for ductile materials like steel, but the exact shape of the curve can differ greatly for different material types. For example, for brittle material like glass or cast iron, the curve goes up quickly and fracture happens. No plastic deformation occurs for such materials. For flexible materials like rubber, the strain increases quickly even for low force or stress values. These materials typically have a large region of elastic deformation.